Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard. Thank you for watching today's Northeast Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. So you look at the last 24 hours of precipitation, we're watching a area of low pressure move out of the eastern Corn Belt and into the Northeast region, bringing some light showers and perhaps a couple isolated thunderstorms. Elsewhere, we've been watching the development of afternoon thunderstorms across the high plains here and a corridor of showers and storms moving across the northern plains into the upper Midwest. The last 30 days of precipitation, kind of a mixed bag here. No significant issues here with excess precipitation or drought setting up. You can see corridors of heavy rain here across parts of the central United States, but still some portions of the Corn Belt even. The believe it or not, be talking about flooding rains, but isolated areas here in the northern plains and parts of the eastern Corn Belt into the Mid-South that do badly need some rain. And we will shift towards a pattern that's going to be bringing some rain to these areas, including parts of the Northeast region over the next week or so. The next 5 days of precipitation from the National Blended Model kind of highlights those corridors. This first one here across the northern plains that does look to remain quite active over the next week or so, but then really honing in on this zone here across the southern plains into the central and eastern Corn Belt, where portions of especially the eastern Corn Belt here, Illinois into Indiana, Ohio, and then portions of Pennsylvania here getting into the Northeast region, perhaps picking up on some significant rainfall over the next 7 days. And then here is this zone here on the high plains where we expect the development of afternoon thunderstorms, perhaps some isolated severe storms across the high plains. The typical summer thunderstorms out in that area producing some large hail. The GFS ensemble forecast here for the next week, this takes us through June 20th. Precipitation anomalies shows the same areas here, this northern zone, and then we've got the same zone from the central and southern plains into the eastern Corn Belt, and then off into portions of the Northeast region here, namely the state of Pennsylvania, parts of southern New York, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and those areas, perhaps picking up on some of this. And then also towards the high plains, picking on some of those areas here where we expect to see afternoon storms developing each day. The week 2 forecast, just to show you this quickly, it does look like we'll remain active across parts of the Corn Belt as we talk about the time frame from June 21st through the 28th. Dry to near average conditions expected across the Northeast as we finish up the month of June. The sun rises here across the Midwest, and we're watching these two areas of showers and storms across the central U.S. into the upper Midwest. This is associated with a storm system that will kind of continue off to the east-northeast, bringing some rain into our area as we get into the back half of the week and early next week. But for now, we continue to watch this storm system, this area of low pressure, spinning away as it continues to move off to the northeast, bringing some showers and perhaps an isolated thunderstorm to much of the northeast region here for our Friday. You can see that here, this trough on in the jet stream here, as we take a look at this on Friday morning. And then behind that, no major trough waiting in the wings in the western or central United States, but it's this area here and this other zone off to the north where we see these pockets of faster air, these short waves embedded within the flow of the jet stream that tap into a seasonally humid and unstable June air mass and can trigger these clusters of storms that then progress off to the east and can bring some heavy rain or some severe weather, again, to portions of the northeast region here, kind of in a corridor from the central and eastern Corn Belt into the northeast region. We've seen a cooler and less humid air mass over a lot of the eastern U.S. over the last few days, and so you hear me mention, a warm and humid June air mass, and you might be scratching your head a little bit. Here in even central Illinois here, I woke up, it was 50 degrees this morning, a dew point in the 40s. It felt crisp like October. But as we go through the next several days, this area of low pressure and the clockwise flow around it, as it moves off to the east, the left side here where we have southerly flow is going to begin to tap into the Gulf of Mexico. And check this out. Watch how quickly the moisture returns to the central U.S., where by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, we've got a very humid air mass across the central United States, the central and the eastern United States. And so the environment is certainly primed across this region for the development of showers and storms. And again, that will impact portions of the northeast region as these clusters of storms develop and then move off to the east or to the northeast through parts of the northeast region. The high-resolution rapid refresh model, this is our HER model, taking us through the next 24 hours, and that leaves us mostly dry in the northeast region all the way through midday on Saturday. This first storm system exits, bringing some rain to portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and then we see thunderstorms developing Friday night and Saturday morning across the eastern Corn Belt, and these begin to push into the northeast region as we get into Saturday evening. 24-hour precipitation through 7 p.m. on Sunday morning, highlighting that area of light rain and perhaps an isolated thunderstorm to the north across northern New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. This again through 7 a.m. on Sunday, and then here are those overnight storms across the central and eastern Corn Belt, which will then progress off to the east-northeast as we head into Saturday late in the day, Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening. Taking a longer look now with the high-resolution NAM model, this will take us all the way into Sunday afternoon, and we'll go ahead, we'll pause this, we'll step through time, taking it quickly through Friday night into Saturday morning because we covered that with the HRRR, but by the time we get into midday Saturday, starting to see the opportunity for some showers and storms to begin moving into the northeast region, parts of Pennsylvania and New York. You can take a look at the total precipitation accumulation over on the right side. Showers and storms across New York and Pennsylvania, off to the northeast as we get into Sunday morning, and then a little bit more isolated as we head into the midday on Sunday. So your total precipitation, obviously, or maybe not obviously, I should mention that as we head into a time range or a time frame such as mid to late June, the details of some of these clusters of storms that produce the heaviest precipitation are not going to be clear until the day that they actually develop. And so if you can find yourself on a map, try to avoid, looking over and picking out, the precipitation values associated with your locale over here, because these exact values aren't precisely how it's going to, lay out, where perhaps this zone here, this corridor of heavy storms from northern Illinois into Indiana and Ohio, perhaps that develops a little bit further south and we see it track a little bit closer to the Ohio River Valley. So drastic changes by just subtle movement in some of the clusters of storms within here, but just kind of notice the overall zone as we head through the next few days, really favoring this corridor here. I should really zoom in a little bit closer on Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Parts of western Pennsylvania seem to be primed the most for some heavy rain as we head through midday Sunday. Now, taking it out a bit further, we'll go ahead and look at the European model, the 500 millibar height, so mid-level jet stream winds on the left and then precipitation type on the right. We'll take it quickly through the weekend since we've covered that pretty well with the HRRR and the high-resolution NAM model, showing that, showers and storms are going to be most plentiful off to the south and to the west. Pennsylvania, maybe parts of New York, are going to be having the best opportunity to pick up on some of that precipitation as we head through the weekend and then early next week. It's not until we get towards the back half of next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that we see another more well-defined trough within the jet stream moving through the region, bringing some more significant widespread chances for precipitation. But of course, getting out that far, the details are going to be lost a little bit. So let's take a look at the total precipitation accumulation with the European model on the left, the GFS on the right, and just kind of take a note of some of the differences and the similarities. We'll go ahead and pause this at the very end just to show you we have pretty good agreement when it comes to the northeast region here, with the heaviest precipitation again being focused kind of along and southwest of this line, where perhaps the states of Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, getting into southern New York, Massachusetts, those areas, New Jersey, picking up on some of the more significant precipitation with more scattered and light totals off to the north parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, maybe a little bit lighter, around half an inch to an inch, perhaps an inch and a half in a very local spot. Just to close it out, as far as precipitation goes, and just to show you here, this is what the folks at the National Weather Service are forecasting through 7 a.m. on Monday. So this takes us through the whole weekend, really honing in on this corridor here from the southern and central plains into the eastern Corn Belt, and then parts of western Pennsylvania. As I said, just it looks like if anyone's going to get soaked here over the next week or so, it's going to be the state of Pennsylvania, maybe southern New York, and maybe closely surrounding areas that kind of concern me with the best heavy precipitation chances. Talk temperatures just briefly to finish it out. The next 5 days, temperature anomalies here, so June 14th through the 18th. Pretty close to average across the western portions of the northeast region, maybe warmer than average as you head off to the far northeast. But overall speaking, not any major temperature differences from average here over the next 5 days. And as we look even further, days 6 through 10, so now June 19th through the 24th, still looking at near average in the west, maybe slightly warmer than average off to the northeast across Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Your high temperatures for the next 5 days, Friday high temps a little bit cooler as we deal with some cloud cover and rain. High temperatures anywhere from the upper 50s to the mid 70s, warming back up as that storm system moves out of the area on Saturday with upper 60s and lower 80s off to the south. Your Sunday high temperatures, mid-70s across the north, mid-80s again to the south. Similar look on Monday and Tuesday. We're starting to get more widespread shower and thunderstorm activity across this region, and that keeps temperatures a bit cooler, but still hitting the upper, or at least middle to upper 70s, with lower 70s across the far north and middle 80s across the southeast. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Monday morning ag forecast video, and I'll have your next Northeast regional update midday on Tuesday. Have a great Friday and have a great weekend.